you tired of your granny squares twisting at the corners and looking all wonky? This method fixes it for good and keeps your corners crisp and square even on giant granny squares. So I'm just using some yarn from my stash. It's an Aran or worsted weight cotton yarn, and I'm going to be using a 4.5mm hook, but you can use any yarn weight you like. Just use the hook size recommended on your yarn ball band. So I'm going to start by putting a slip knot on my hook. And chaining 4. It's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then just going to join to that first chain with a slip stitch to form a ring. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This counts as our first double crochet. We're now going to start working into the center of that ring, and I like to work over the tail as I go. So I'm going to put 2 double crochet into that ring. It's 1, 2. Going to chain 2 for that first corner space, and then we're going to have 3 double crochet into the ring. When you have 3 double crochet stitches worked into the same place like this, it's often referred to as a granny cluster or granny stitch. Going to chain 2 for the next corner, and then we're going to put another granny cluster into the ring. That's 3 double crochet. 1, 2 and 3. Chain 2, and then we're going to put our last granny cluster into that ring. And chain 2 for our last corner, and then join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. And then I'm going to fasten off so we can join in a new colour. Now I'm going to turn the granny square over, and from the back I'm just going to go through these bumps on the back of the stitch and pull this tail through so I don't have to deal with that at the end. And I'm just going to do the same for the next granny cluster. Like so. Now this is going to be the back of your square, but we're now going to actually work from this side of the square. We're going to be turning our squares over every round, and this is what ensures you get those nice straight corners. So I'm going to get the next colour, and we're just going to put a hook into the corner here and draw this colour through, and we're going to chain 3, counts as our first double crochet, and then we're going to work our corner as normal. So we're going to put 2 double crochet into that corner, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochet all into that same space. Now I'm going to carry my yarn across the tail across the next corner. So on this last double crochet stitch, I'm just going to work the first part of the stitch like so. I'm going to pick up this tail, just lay it over the hook, finish off that stitch, and then I'm just going to take that over to the corner, and I'm keeping my ends on this side because this is the back, even though it's the front. It's going to be the back. So we're just going to yarn over with both of those, put the hook into that corner, pull up that loop, and then finish off that double crochet stitch. Oops, cotton's a bit splitty, and then just tug that a little bit so that that disappears, but leave this on the front so that when you turn it over it'll be on the back. So we're now going to finish off this corner as normal with 2 more double crochet. So chain 2 for that corner, and then 3 more double crochet. 1, 2 and 3, and we're now up to the corner where we tucked that tail in, so we're just going to work over that as well. So we're going to put 3 double crochet into that space and work over that tail at the same time. Whoops, what is going on? Come on, there we go. It's too hot today. I think my brain's a little fried. Okay, so that's 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and then 3 more double crochet into that same corner space. And then we've got one last corner to do. We've got that little tail here. We're going to work over that as well. So it's 3 double crochet. Make sure you catch that tail. Chain 2 and 3 double crochet. And then we're going to join with the slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. And then fasten off that colour. So we're going to turn our square over again. So this is now the right side. So we're going to be working from this side. Before we do that, we want to just deal with this tail. So I did the same thing, but this time you're going through the horizontal bars on the front. This is probably a bit more tricky when you're working with cotton. If you're using acrylic yarn, you'll probably find this a lot easier. So we're just going to pull that tail through, and then it's going to get held in over this corner space here. So we're going to go for our next colour. So I like to join in any space along the side that is next to the left hand corner. This is just my personal preference because I like to have the corner space to weave in those, to work over those tails. I'll explain why as we go along. So you're just going to join in your new colour, and we're going to chain 3, counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to put 2 more double crochet, that's a granny cluster, into this same space. Now I'm just working that first part of that stitch, and I want to carry this tail across. This stops you from having long floats across the back of your squares, and I'm just going to finish off that stitch and then just take that across. Now this is the front of this is the right side of our square, so I'm going to hold it at the back to the corner, and then as we did before, I'm going to work a double crochet stitch into that corner and then just gently pull that, and it kind of disappears inside that stitch. And then we're going to work over this tail. And I always find that in the corners you've got 6 stitches holding it in place, and I feel like that's secure enough. I can just trim that tail then. Whereas if you've only got 3 stitches holding it, it can come loose. So we're going to work our corner as normal. And so this is the round that you're going to repeat really now. So every time you find a space across the sides, you're just going to put a granny cluster in there. That's 3 double crochet. So if you were on a later round, if you were on round 5 or 6, you would just, each time you get to a space in the sides, put a granny cluster in there. And when you get to a corner space, the corners are always going to be the same. It's 3 double crochet. Oops. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 and 3 double crochet. So you go ahead and you put a granny cluster in each space across the sides, and then in each corner 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. And again, as usual, we're just going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 and fasten off. So when you want to add your next round, you'll just turn your square over so you've got the wrong side facing you. You can tuck that tail in across the back here, and then you can start, as I explained before, I like to start in this kind of space next to the corner, and just keep adding more rows, and make sure you remember to turn your work over at the end of each round, and you will end up with perfect granny squares like this that don't twist around at those corners. Now when you make your granny squares quite small like this one, even if you made a traditional granny square, you probably wouldn't notice that twist. It's really only when the squares start to get really big. So this is perfect, this technique is perfect if you're making a giant granny square blanket, or you're making blankets with bigger squares. So if you're looking for something a little more lacy in a granny square, then be sure to watch this video next. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye now.